keep asking yourself why you keep doing this. Why you always seem to trip over your own feet just when things are finally going right. Why you turn down good opportunities. Why you distance yourself from people who care. Why you sabotage the very peace you say you crave. You tell yourself you want to be happy, so why does it feel like you're at war with yourself? It's not stupidity, it's not weakness. It's something much quieter than that. Something that hides under the surface. Self-sabotage doesn't come at you with a scream, it slips in like a whisper. Subtle, familiar, disguised as safety. You don't ruin things because you want to be miserable. You ruin things because misery for a long time was your home, and no matter how painful it was yours. You knew how to live in it. And there's something terrifying about stepping out of that comfort zone, even when that zone is full of pain, loneliness, and shame. You see, there's a part of you, the part Jung called the shadow, that you've never been fully introduced to. It's not evil, it's not broken, but it's the part you've shoved into the basement for so long that it now pulls the strings behind your back. Every time you say, "I don't know why I did that," it's usually the shadow acting out an old wound that never healed. That's why you run away from good things. Not because they're not good, but because they challenge your identity. If you've spent most of your life being told you're not good enough, not lovable, not capable, then anything that contradicts that feels like a threat. It doesn't match the internal script you've memorized, and your mind, it clings to familiarity, even if it's destroying you. It's hard to admit, but sometimes self-destruction is just self-preservation in disguise. You push people away not because you hate connection, but because connection reminds you how much you were hurt the last time you trusted someone. You procrastinate not because you're lazy, but because success means change, and deep down, change terrifies you. You sabotage relationships, careers, health, because part of you believes you don't deserve better, or worse, that if you finally get better, the pain you've buried will have nowhere left to hide. There's a strange safety in chaos. When your life is on fire, no one expects you to be happy. No one asks you to show up. You're given permission to fall apart. And maybe that's what you needed once. Maybe falling apart was how you survived. But if you're still using that strategy now, when there's nothing to escape, then you're not surviving anymore. You're self-sabotaging. And it's not your fault that you learned these patterns, but it is your responsibility to unlearn them. This isn't about blaming your past. It's about finally seeing how it's still living in your present. Maybe you grew up with unpredictability, so now when life becomes stable, you unconsciously create drama just to feel normal again. Maybe your earliest attachments were cold or chaotic, so now when someone is calm and kind, you can't trust it. You pick fights, you pull away, you scan for signs they'll abandon you, just to make the ending feel like your idea. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And that's what self-sabotage is. The absurd dance we do to avoid facing what's really inside. Because once you face it, truly face it, everything has to change. And change means grief. Grief over the years you spent believing you were unworthy. Grief over the choices you made from fear. Grief over the love you pushed away when all you wanted was to be held. But here's the thing. Your mind is not trying to destroy you. Even your most destructive habits were once survival tactics. They got you through, they kept you safe, they gave you control when the world felt out of control. They helped you feel powerful when you felt powerless. They served a purpose, but now they're outdated. You've outgrown them, and that's why they're hurting you. Healing starts when you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What happened to me that made me need this pattern?" It's not about fixing yourself. You're not broken. It's about becoming aware of the hidden contracts you made with yourself when you were too young to know better. Like, if I never try, I can't fail. If I don't get too close, they can't hurt me. If I ruin it first, I won't be blindsided when it falls apart. These rules were born from pain. They protected you, but now they imprison you. Self-sabotage is often a protest, a silent way of saying, "I don't feel safe here," even when everything looks fine on the surface. It's the inner child throwing a tantrum in a world they don't understand. And that child doesn't need punishment. They need understanding, compassion, reparenting. But be careful, because self-sabotage can also become your identity. You start to believe you're the one who always messes things up, the one who can't be relied on, the one who's always almost there, but never quite. And once you've identified with the sabotager, you start to feed the cycle. You predict your own failure before the world even gets a chance to witness your success. It becomes safer to disappoint yourself than risk being disappointed by others. But ask yourself this: who would you be without the belief that you're your own worst enemy? What if you could meet your patterns with curiosity instead of shame? What if every act of sabotage was actually a clue, a breadcrumb, leading you back to a forgotten wound that's still bleeding? The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." You don't have to keep reenacting your old pain just to understand it. You can choose to witness it, hold it, and then gently let it go. You can choose to stop running from yourself. But that requires honesty, a raw kind of honesty most people aren't ready for, the kind that doesn't just say, "I sabotage things." It says, "I learned to do this because no one ever taught me how to feel safe in happiness, how to trust peace, how to believe I deserved love." You'll keep breaking your own heart until you realize you're the one holding the hammer. And I know healing is terrifying. It's disorienting, but you know what's more terrifying? Spending the rest of your life living beneath your potential just because it's familiar. You're not here to relive the same pain over and over. You're here to rewrite the story, to break the loop, to turn to the part of you that keeps lighting matches and say, "I see you. I know why you're scared. But we're safe now." And maybe for the first time, you'll believe it. You might feel the urge to resist this truth. You might want to say, "But I don't do this on purpose." And you're right. You don't. That's the thing about self-sabotage. It's not deliberate. It's not a conscious act of destruction. It's subtle, it's slow, it's deeply wired. It happens in the quiet ways. Missing a deadline, staying in a relationship that drains you, avoiding difficult conversations, saying yes when your whole body screams no. You call it procrastination, you call it anxiety, but if you dig deep enough, it's often fear wrapped in habit. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being seen. Being truly seen is terrifying because to be seen means to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable means to risk being hurt again. So you shrink, you hide behind sarcasm, you dull your edges, you downplay your desires, you keep your dreams in the dark where no one can criticize them, where they're safe, unlived, but safe. But let's be honest, that safety, it's costing you everything. It's costing you peace, growth, real intimacy, joy. The kind of life that stretches you in the best ways. The kind that's full of meaning, not just survival. Nietzsche said, "Man is the cruelest animal." But he wasn't just talking about how we treat others. He meant how cruel we can be to ourselves. The way we punish ourselves for wanting more. The way we tear ourselves down before the world gets the chance. The way we deny ourselves compassion when we need it most. Self-sabotage isn't about flaws, it's about fear. And the cure for fear has never been perfection. It's always been truth. Even when it's ugly. Even when it hurts. You have to look at the version of yourself who keeps blowing up your progress and say, "What do you need from me?" Not in judgment, not in frustration, but in love. Because that version of you didn't come out of nowhere. They were shaped, conditioned, trained. And that means they can be untrained too. Here's a truth you might not be ready to hear. The version of you who keeps sabotaging your life is also trying to protect you. They think they're keeping you from getting hurt. They think they're keeping you safe from betrayal, rejection, humiliation. But the tragedy is, you're still hurting. You're still suffering. Only now it's coming from the inside. That protection has turned into a prison. So how do you stop? How do you stop being your own enemy? Start by listening. Not to the loudest voice in your head, but to the quiet one, the one underneath the shame, the one that whispers, "Please let me be enough." The one that says, "I'm tired of being scared all the time." That voice isn't weak, it's sacred, and it's been waiting for you. You don't need to conquer yourself, you need to reconcile with yourself. You need to make peace with the parts of you that were born in trauma, raised in chaos, shaped by wounds. You need to stop punishing yourself for adapting to what you were never meant to endure. You need to stop equating suffering with strength. Healing isn't loud. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like finally getting enough sleep. Sometimes it looks like saying no without explaining yourself. Sometimes it looks like showing up anyway, even when your mind says you'll fail. And sometimes healing is just sitting with the discomfort of not destroying something that's going well. It will feel foreign, it will feel wrong, but it's not wrong, it's unfamiliar. There's a difference. You're allowed to be unfamiliar with peace and still choose it. You're allowed to be scared of love and still move toward it. You're allowed to be tempted to self-sabotage and still pause and choose differently. Because in that pause, that breath between reaction and choice, is where your freedom lives. Spinoza said that freedom isn't the absence of necessity, but the presence of understanding. Once you understand your patterns, you can begin to loosen their grip. You can choose again and again and again. And every time you choose growth over fear, trust over control, softness over shame, you take your power back. Not all at once, not perfectly, but slowly, steadily, intentionally. You begin to rewrite the contract. The one that used to say, "I'm only safe if I stay small." Now it says, "I am safe when I stand in my truth." The one that used to say, "I don't deserve love." Now it says, "I am lovable, even when I don't perform." The one that used to say, "It's better to destroy things first." Now it says, "I can stay, I can build, I can receive." This is how you break the pattern. Not by force, not by willpower alone, but by becoming radically honest with yourself. Self-sabotage doesn't mean you're broken. It means you learn to survive in ways that are no longer necessary. And now you have a choice. You can let those old wounds dictate the rest of your life, or you can start listening to the part of you that wants more. You don't need to wait for rock bottom to change. You don't need another crisis to justify your healing. You just need a moment, like this one, where you're brave enough to face yourself without flinching. That's when things begin to shift. When you stop asking the world to give you permission and start giving it to yourself. When you stop waiting to be saved and realize, maybe for the first time, that you've always been capable of saving yourself. This is your invitation not to be perfect, not to fix everything overnight, but to be awake, to be aware, to be kind to yourself in the places that used to feel like war zones. Because the truth is, you don't need to be harder on yourself. You need to be gentler, kinder, more patient. Because beneath every self-sabotaging moment is a story that was never heard, a pain that was never validated, a child that was never comforted. Listen to that child. They're still inside you. They're waiting, and they're tired of surviving. They want to live. And maybe now, you're finally ready to let them.